There's one question police ask gun owners every single day. And if you answer it wrong, you could lose your gun rights forever. 3 words. That is all that stands between you and a very bad legal situation. And most gun owners have never heard them. Quick question before we continue. Are you subscribed to this channel? Because what I am about to share took me hours of legal research to put together, and it could keep you out of jail. Hundreds of gun owners have already used this information to protect themselves at traffic stops and encounters they never saw coming. Hit that subscribe button right now. I will wait. Good. Now, let us get into this, because this is one of the most important videos I have ever made for you. So here's what is going on. Every single day, gun owners across the country get stopped by police. Maybe it is a routine traffic stop. Maybe an officer walks up while you're parked. Maybe someone called 911 about a car matching yours. It does not matter how it starts. What matters is what happens next. Because at some point, that officer is going to ask you one specific question. And the way you answer it, or whether you answer it at all, can change the rest of your life. That question is this: do you have any weapons on you or in the vehicle? Simple question, right? Sounds harmless. Sounds like something you could answer honestly. Most people do. Most people say yes or no without thinking twice about it. And that is exactly where the problem begins. Let me tell you about a real-world type of situation that plays out across this country all the time. Imagine you are a law-abiding gun owner. You have your concealed carry permit. Your firearm is legally stored. You have done nothing wrong. A cop pulls you over. He walks up to your window and asks, "Do you have any weapons in the car?" You say, "Yes, officer, I have a handgun in the glove box." You're being honest, you're being cooperative, and you think that will go well. But here's what happens next. The officer now has legal justification to search. He finds your gun, he runs the serial number, he checks your permit, and maybe everything checks out, but maybe your permit lapsed by 3 weeks. Maybe there is some paperwork mix-up in the system. Maybe you crossed into a state where their laws are different from yours. What started as a taillight stop has just turned into a potential felony charge, all because you answered one question. Here's the part nobody talks about. You were not legally required to answer. Not at all. This is where those 3 words come in. And I'm going to tell you exactly what they are and how to use them. The 3 words are this. Am I detained? That is it. 3 words. Am I detained? Now let me explain why those 3 words are so powerful, because this part genuinely shocked me when I first understood it. When a police officer walks up, there are 2 very different legal situations you could be in. Either you are detained, meaning the officer has a legal reason to hold you and investigate you, or you are free to leave. And the law is very clear. If you are not being detained, you do not have to answer any questions at all. Not one. You can politely say you do not wish to answer questions, and you can go about your day. But here's the trick. The officer is not going to volunteer that information. They are trained to ask questions in a way that makes you feel like you must answer. The tone, the uniform, the authority in their voice, it makes you go into compliance mode. And so you answer. And sometimes that answer, even an honest one, gives them everything they need to take things further. So when an officer approaches, your very first response before you say anything else should be a calm, respectful, "Am I detained?" If the officer says no, you are not detained, then you have just confirmed you are free to go. Politely decline questions and leave. If the officer says yes, you are being detained, now you know where you stand. And this leads directly to the next thing you need to say, which is, "I'm invoking my 5th Amendment right to remain silent and want an attorney." That is not 3 words. But "am I detained" is what unlocks the entire process. It forces the officer to define the situation before you say another word. Now, quick legal note. This is educational information, not legal advice. Every situation is different, and every state has different laws. Consult an attorney. What I am giving you here is a general framework based on constitutional principles. It is a starting point, not a finish line. If you are finding this helpful, I need you to do something right now. Imagine how useful my next video will be. I'm covering the exact phrases that defense attorneys use to advise their clients before any police encounter involving a firearm. Things that go way beyond today. If you are not subscribed, you are going to miss it completely. Hit that button. Now, let us talk about why so many gun owners get this wrong. Smart people, people who have taken safety courses and know their firearm inside and out, they still make this mistake. The reason is the cooperation reflex. Most of us are raised to believe that if you are innocent, you cooperate. If you have nothing to hide, you talk to the police. They are there to help. But in a legal context, especially when firearms are involved, that instinct hurts. Here's what most people get wrong. They think staying silent makes them look guilty. They think asking, "Am I detained?" is going to make the officer suspicious or angry. But here's the truth. The Supreme Court has confirmed you have the right to silence. You have the right to refuse searches. Exercising a right is not suspicious. In fact, experienced defense attorneys will tell you something that might surprise you. Innocent people can talk their way into trouble far more easily than guilty ones. Why? Because when you start explaining yourself, you are giving information. And information, even innocent information, can be twisted or misunderstood. Here's a hypothetical example. Let us say you answer and say, I have a gun. It is in my center console. Simple enough. But now the officer asks how long, and you say, oh, I had it out earlier today at the range. Now he knows more. Now maybe he asks more questions. And with each answer, you are building a picture. One small misstatement, one misremembered detail, and suddenly you look evasive. The 3 words, am I detained? Stop that entire chain before it starts. Now let us go a step deeper. There is a difference between polite and compliant. When you ask, am I detained? You're not being rude or escalating. You're simply asking a legal question that every American has the right to ask. Your tone matters enormously here. You want to stay calm and speak normally. Do not cross your arms. Do not raise your voice. Do not lecture on the Constitution. Just ask the question quietly and wait for the answer. Calm, quiet, respectful. Those 3 things give you the most protection while keeping things from getting worse. Now here is the part that gets even more interesting. Duty to inform laws. That means if you are stopped, you are legally required to tell them you are armed. Yes, you read that right. In some states, you do not even wait to be asked. You must proactively disclose. States like Ohio, Texas, and Michigan have these laws. In other states like California, you have no such duty. Knowledge is essential, so the 3 words work a little differently depending on where you are. In duty to inform states, you still use those words to understand the encounter, but you pair it with disclosure. Officer, I am a licensed carrier, and I am armed. Am I being detained? That way you have fulfilled your legal duty and established rights. Hey, real quick, about 73% of the people watching right now are not subscribed. That means almost 3 out of 4 of you are going to miss the follow-up video. I will break down duty to inform laws, state by state, and tell you what to say. Do not be in that 73%. Join the thousands of gun owners who get updates first. Tap that subscribe button right now. It takes 2 seconds and saves headaches. Now let me walk you through what a good encounter looks like using this knowledge. Imagine the same traffic stop. The officer asks if you have any weapons. You take a breath, you stay calm, and you say, Officer, am I being detained? The officer says, you're not being detained, I just want to ask a few questions. And you say, I appreciate that. I prefer not to answer questions. Am I free to go? In most cases, that is the end of it. You drive away. No escalation, no info, no accidental self-incrimination, just 3 words and a calm follow-up. Now, if the officer says, yes, you are being detained, here's what you do. First, do not resist. Never physically resist a lawful detention, even if wrong. Second, clearly say, I'm invoking my right to remain silent and want an attorney. Then stop talking. Do not explain, do not argue, do not try to talk your way out. Say those words once clearly and then stay quiet. I know that sounds hard. The silence feels uncomfortable. Your brain wants to fill it with explanations, but every word you say after invoking your rights is a potential problem. So you stay quiet and wait. This information could change with new legislation. Subscribe, because my next video covers 2 rulings from the last 18 months. They change how gun owners handle stops in several states. Stay updated. Hit subscribe before you forget. So let us bring this all together now. When an officer asks if you have a weapon, your first move is not to answer. Your first move is to ask 3 words. Am I detained? That defines the moment. If not detained, you are free to leave. If detained, you invoke your rights. In duty to inform states, fulfill the disclosure while using those words. Stay calm, stay polite, and let the law work for you instead of against you. These 3 words are not a magic shield. They do not make you untouchable. They do not mean you can ignore commands or act recklessly. They are a foundation. This knowledge is part of a picture of being a responsible, informed gun owner. If this video gave you value, subscribe right now. I put real research into this. I believe informed gun owners are safer gun owners and better citizens. Hit subscribe, ring the bell, and share this video with every owner you know, because this information could change someone's life. I will see you next time. Legal disclaimer. This video is for educational purposes only, not legal advice. No attorney-client relationship is formed. Laws vary by state and change. Always consult a licensed attorney in your state before making legal decisions.